Hi, my name is Josh McMahon, and this is my week 2 video observation journal. I'll be talking about, I'll be giving reflection on the APERS rating scale, as well as the classroom I observed, some of the things that appealed to me in the classroom and things that didn't, and as well as the overall impression I had on the classroom learning environment. The classroom I observed was a K through 6 RSP classroom. The classroom had 2 RSP teachers and 1 paraeducator. There were roughly 12 to 15 students in the classroom, depending on what time of day it was. About every 45 minutes, there would be a new group rotating in and out for their academic intervention. The group was mixed up of kids with mild disabilities like specific learning disabilities, OHI, and a few kids were on the spectrum that were actually case managed by the inclusion specialist, but received services, so they were attending the resource room for academic intervention. The classroom that I observed was a basic rectangular shaped classroom. Both teachers had their desks on each corner of the room. As well, there were 2 kidney tables that were divided by a few moving, like rolling cabinets that were used for storage for the teachers. As well, it was there so it would help with a little bit of noise, which I don't know if that really does a good job of that. From observation, it was kind of hard to tell. And as well, it's there for to help not have as much distraction for the students, so that they wouldn't see the other students on the other side, which I think it did a good job of, and I felt that was pretty effective in that sense. As well, there were 2 one-to-one tables, or one-to-one instruction tables, I guess you would call it, where small tables in the back of each side of the room that the teacher or the para would go back and either do assessments with the students or use it just to do one-on-one instruction with maybe a student that was lower than the rest of the group, and it was actually far enough away from the kidney tables that it didn't seem like it was a distraction to be in that one-to-one lesson, so I thought that was a great placement for that table. Let's see what else. The classroom, the one thing that I saw as like a downfall in the room was the classroom lacked storage for students, like personal items. There wasn't a place for their coats to go. There wasn't a place for maybe like shelving for personal items, so maybe their personal work, or even if they were there at the end of the day to place their backpack so they can put it there and pick it up right before they head out and go home. I guess it's kind of typical for a learning resource room where there really isn't storage space because students are going in and out of the classroom constantly throughout the day. I think it would be helpful for the later groups to be able to have a place to store their items, and that way they're not leaving their backpacks next to the table. And when you got a big group of kids having I can imagine, I didn't see a big group at the end of the day because I wasn't there when I was observing, but I can imagine the pile of backpacks that would be placed by the table, which could be distracting for the students, as well as be a kind of an obstacle for kids that need to go to the restroom or just stand up and grab a pencil or a paper. And so I think putting that personal storage would be a good addition to the classroom as well. Another thing I didn't notice in the classroom was any sort of schedule. I guess in a resource room, you're kind of just going throughout your day, pulling groups, and you might not feel that it's necessary to have anything on the boards like a schedule or even the daily objective. And so that was one thing I didn't see. I feel like it'd probably be a good addition to have at least the daily objectives up on the board so kids know what they're learning on that day and what the lesson's about. And so I would definitely do that. I guess kids don't really need to know their schedule. They know what time to come and what time to leave, so I guess a 45-minute window isn't really necessary to have a schedule. But in some cases, I guess it might be helpful for students with autism just to keep that schedule with them throughout the day, kind of as some kind of accommodation or something to help them throughout the day to maintain their schedule and routine. But it's one thing I did not notice in the classroom as well. There were some visuals in the classroom that I did notice that were helpful. There could be more visuals, but the visuals that I noticed were that they use PBIS posters, which are just positive behavior interventions and supports. It's just a program. It's a school-wide program. I think it's district-wide that they use to help promote positive behavior in the school and in the classroom. And so there was posters reminding students of how to behave, how to kind of demonstrating how to act, and just to be the three sayings they say is to be safe, responsible, and respectful. So it was a bunch of posters all over the classroom reminding students of how to behave at the school, and it was a good reminder for them as well. I noticed the teachers using positive reinforcement throughout the day, and they used it quite a bit. Students would receive paw prints, which were pretty much reward tickets or success tickets for working hard, staying on task, and good behavior, maybe treating your peers respectfully. And the teacher would reward students in that way of giving them a paw print, which they could use either to enter the classroom drawing or take it back to their general ed class and use it as whatever their classroom uses their paw prints for. So it was a good way to motivate students in a positive way. My overall impression was that the classroom was set up well for a resource room. I feel that it can be a challenge to incorporate all the necessary needs for a student with autism in a resource room, where I feel like in a special day class you definitely have more accommodations set for the students as well as whatever's on their accommodation plan. But I feel like throughout their day they're going to have more support in a room like a SDC class or maybe an autism special day class, and so or an inclusion classroom. But the only suggestions I would have are for this classroom was to maybe add more visuals, maybe a visual schedule for students with autism, just to help aid them in their routine and keep that consistency that they need to maintain that positive behavior and not to feel for them to be upset or freaked out by any change that goes on throughout the day. Also, I would suggest that the lessons objectives would be up on the board. I think that'd be helpful for any student just to know what they're learning that day. And lastly, I would suggest that the teacher put some storage in the classroom to help at least just help the students organize their own personal items and be able to not have to carry it all over to the kidney tables and kind of make it a clutter over there and maybe even a distraction. So that's my overall impression of the classroom and what I got to observe in this resource room. I hope you enjoyed my video and have a good one.